Hi, welcome my channel. Today's story is all about betrayal, revenge, and justice. Imagine trusting someone, only to find out they're plotting against you, but they never expected their victim to outsmart them. Stay tuned. It was just past 7 a.m. in Austin, Texas, when Clara sat at her kitchen table, sipping her morning coffee while her 1-year-old daughter, Lily, giggled in her high chair, happily smashing pieces of banana with her tiny hands. Clara smiled at the sound, feeling that rare moment of peace, until her phone buzzed on the table. Thinking it was a message from her assistant Jason about a client meeting, she picked it up casually. But when she saw the subject line of the email, "Moving on," her stomach dropped. She clicked on it with trembling fingers, and as the message loaded, her heart began to race. There, attached, was a photo of her husband, Ethan, with his arm wrapped intimately around a much younger blonde woman, Sophie. A 24-year-old intern Clara had met once in passing at a company event. They were standing on the deck of Clara's beach house, smiling as if they were on a romantic getaway. Beneath the image, Ethan's cold words cut like a knife. "Clara, I've moved on. Sophie and I are living at the beach house now. My lawyer will be sending over the divorce papers shortly. Don't bother fighting it, the house is in my name." Clara stared at the screen, her mind spinning. Her name wasn't on the deed? She knew better than to believe that, after all, she had bought that house entirely with profits from her company. Her hands trembled as she set her coffee down. But it wasn't fear that shook her, it was pure, unfiltered rage. Ethan thought he could just walk out of their marriage, take her house, and expect her to accept it. As Lily babbled innocently, Clara's eyes drifted to the photo of her and Ethan on their wedding day. Still hanging on the wall, a picture of smiles and promises now shattered. She let out a slow, steadying breath and picked up her phone again. Scrolling to Ethan's contact, she hit block, then opened a new email draft. Her reply was short, sharp, and ice cold. "Are you sure about that? You might want to double-check the paperwork." She hit send, a slow smile spreading across her face. "You have no idea who you're dealing with, Ethan." As Clara sat back in her chair, her mind couldn't help but wander to the beginning, to how it had all started. 6 years ago, when she first met Ethan, she was already on her way to building something incredible. Her tech startup, specializing in eco-friendly smart home devices, was gaining traction fast, but Ethan had always treated it like a cute side project. Something to humor her about while he climbed the corporate ladder at his investment firm. Back then, Clara had been too in love to see his condescension for what it was, a warning sign. She'd built her company from scratch, working long hours from her small apartment in Austin, pouring everything she had into designing smart products that would one day revolutionize home living. The beach house had been her idea, a reward for all those sleepless nights and tireless effort. It was a place for them to relax and make memories as a family. Especially after Lily was born, Clara had paid for the entire house in cash, using profits from her company's first major licensing deal. But when Ethan had insisted on putting his name on the deed, for tax reasons, she had reluctantly agreed. What Ethan didn't know, however, was that Clara had secretly worked with her lawyer, Monica, to draft a contract clearly outlining that the house was purchased solely with her funds, making her the rightful owner in any legal dispute. It was a small act of caution, a quiet voice in her head warning her to protect what she had built. Looking back now, the red flags were everywhere. Ethan's dismissive attitude toward her business, the way he took credit when speaking to others. "I helped her turn her hobby into a real company," he would boast at parties, though in reality, he'd contributed nothing but criticism. Clara had been so focused on building her empire and caring for their newborn that she hadn't seen the cracks forming. Now, sitting in her kitchen, that realization burned. He thought she was naive. He was wrong. Clara's mind was still spinning when she set Lily down for her morning nap and walked straight to her home office, determination hardening every step. If Ethan thought he could take everything from her, he was about to learn just how wrong he was. Sitting at her desk, she opened her banking app, intending to check the joint account where she and Ethan had been setting aside money for Lily's college fund, over $100 saved with every intention of giving their daughter a secure future. But as her eyes scanned the screen, her heart nearly stopped. The account was empty. Every last cent had been transferred out the day before into an account she didn't recognize. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she pulled up the transaction history. It didn't take long to uncover a pattern of withdrawals and transfers over the last 6 months, small amounts at first. Then larger sums as Ethan grew bolder. Altogether, he had siphoned away more than $300 into various offshore accounts. Meticulously hidden. This wasn't just betrayal, it was calculated theft. Rage coursed through her veins. But she forced herself to stay calm as she picked up her phone and called Monica, her trusted lawyer. Within minutes, Monica was reviewing the initial evidence. Her voice sharp and clipped as she promised to prepare a response that would rip Ethan to shreds in court. Meanwhile, Clara messaged Jason, her assistant, asking him to dig into Ethan's digital footprint, and it didn't take him long to strike gold. Jason uncovered security camera footage from the beach house, cameras Ethan had no idea Clara had installed last year when she began to suspect he wasn't being entirely honest. The footage showed Ethan and Sophie entering the house repeatedly over the last few months. Lounging like they owned the place. Even wearing Clara's clothes and using her personal items. As if that wasn't enough. Jason sent screenshots from Sophie's social media, where she posted photos inside the house, captioned with nauseating lines like, "Making a home with my love, forever starts now." Clara stared at the images, fury and clarity sharpening her mind. This wasn't just about heartbreak. This was war, and Clara was ready to fight. As Monica and Clara sat side by side in her office, scanning through the documents and footage, Jason's next discovery hit like a bombshell. Through digging into Ethan's email archives, Jason uncovered a string of private messages between Ethan and Sophie, revealing a plan far more sinister than just an affair. The emails were filled with discussions of how Ethan planned to use Clara's company as leverage in a secret corporate merger, one that would benefit Ethan's firm and a direct competitor of Clara's tech company. Worse, the emails showed that Sophie wasn't just a clueless intern, she was actively involved. Using her connections as the niece of Mr. Bennett, the CEO of Ethan's firm, to help Ethan secure a promotion to CFO. "Once I'm CFO," Ethan had written in one message, "we'll have access to all the insider info we need to crush Clara's business." Another message from Sophie oozed arrogance, "Your wife won't know what hit her. By the time she figures it out, we'll be running her company into the ground." Clara's stomach turned as she read the words, realizing that Ethan had been plotting this betrayal for over a year. Even as she stayed up late nursing Lily and working to expand her company. Monica, scrolling quickly through the emails, paused at one that chilled them both. Ethan had tried multiple times to hack into Clara's business accounts, seeking sensitive information he could leak to competitors during the merger. Luckily, Clara's IT team had strong protections, but the attempt itself was enough to constitute corporate espionage. Clara clenched her fists, her mind racing. This wasn't just a marriage falling apart, it was a targeted attack on everything she had built from nothing. Her company wasn't just a business, it was her legacy, her way of creating a better life for Lily. And now Ethan and Sophie were plotting to destroy it for their own gain. But as Clara sat there, anger simmering beneath her calm exterior, she knew one thing for sure, she had gathered enough ammunition to fight back. Looking at Monica, her voice was steady and cold. "They think they're playing chess. But they don't know who they're up against." Clara didn't waste a second. Now that she had undeniable proof of Ethan and Sophie's betrayal, it was time to strike back, methodically and without mercy. She and Monica began piecing together every shred of evidence, the financial records showing Ethan siphoning money from their joint accounts, the emails outlining his corporate espionage plan, and security footage that left no doubt about the affair and the theft of her property. Meanwhile, Jason was still digging deeper, and what he found next made Clara's jaw tighten with grim satisfaction. Sophie had been bragging in private chats to friends about how she and Ethan were about to take Clara for everything she's worth. In one message, Sophie even joked, "She's too busy with her little startup and baby to see what's happening. She won't know what hit her when Ethan's CFO and we're living rich off her money." But what neither Ethan nor Sophie knew was that Clara's little startup had quietly grown into a tech empire, now valued in the millions. What's more, Clara had carefully protected her business, keeping separate banking structures and airtight legal contracts, which Ethan had failed to breach when he tried hacking into her systems. Monica, reviewing Clara's documents, nodded approvingly. You've done everything right. Now, we're going to make them regret underestimating you. That's when Clara remembered something else, a secret file she had been maintaining for years. Labeled, Insurance. Opening her secure backup server, she retrieved it, a treasure trove of incriminating information about Mr. Bennett's company. Collected over time as Clara had managed part of Ethan's investments. Inside were detailed reports about fraudulent dealings, shady offshore accounts, and unethical business practices, enough to destroy Bennett's reputation and drag the entire firm into scandal. Monica's eyes widened as she scrolled through the file. With this, we can take down all of them, not just Ethan. Clara felt a surge of power returning as she stood up, her resolve solidifying. They thought they were hunting me, but now I'm going to flip the game. She looked at Monica and Jason, her voice sharp with determination. We're going to draft a case so strong that Ethan, Sophie, and Bennett will wish they never heard my name. I won't just protect my company, I'll make sure they never do this to anyone else. With her plan in motion and her team behind her, Clara was ready for war, and she intended to win. The following evening, as Lily slept peacefully upstairs, Clara sat in her home office with Monica and Jason by her side. Watching the live security feed from the beach house, Clara had always been cautious, a lesson learned from years of running a competitive tech business, and now her foresight was about to pay off. Through the high-definition cameras, Ethan, Sophie, and Mr. Bennett were clearly visible in the living room, laughing and toasting with champagne like they had already won. Clara's eyes narrowed as she listened to their conversation, every word captured perfectly by the microphones Ethan didn't know existed. To our future CFO, Mr. Bennett said, raising his glass to Ethan with a smug smile. And to my brilliant niece who made it all possible, he added, giving Sophie a proud nod. Ethan grinned. By tomorrow, I'll be CFO. And by next week, Clara's company will be nothing but a bad memory. Sophie chimed in, smirking. She's too soft. Always busy with her kid and her little gadgets to see what's really happening. She'll fold as soon as the audit starts. Clara's jaw clenched, but she said nothing, her fingers tapping on the desk in a steady rhythm as she watched them gloat. Monica leaned in, her voice low. Let them keep talking. The more they say, the more we'll have to bury them. Then Ethan said something that made Clara's blood run cold. Once we're in control of her company's accounts, we'll finally get access to those client lists and proprietary software. And if she fights us? Well, let's just say I know where to hit her hardest. At that, Monica turned to Clara, her eyes sharp. This is everything we need. Clara nodded, her calm, icy exterior unbroken. Let them think they've won. Tomorrow, they'll wake up to a storm they never saw coming. Jason grinned, watching as Sophie poured more champagne. Pop that bottle, Sophie. It's the last thing you'll be celebrating for a long time. Clara sat back, watching, waiting. The trap was set, and soon, it would snap shut. By dawn, Clara, Monica, and Jason were ready. Every piece of evidence was organized into a damning file: financial records, emails, security footage, chat transcripts, and the insurance file documenting years of Mr. Bennett's shady business practices. Monica took one final glance at the email addressed to the board of directors of Ethan's company, her finger hovering over the send button. Are you ready? She asked. Clara exhaled slowly, determination etched on her face. Do it. Monica clicked send. The effect was immediate. Within minutes, phone alerts lit up across the room, responses from board members, shocked and demanding emergency meetings. Clara switched back to the live beach house feed just in time to see Ethan checking his phone, his cocky grin fading as he read through what had just landed in every board member's inbox. His hands began to shake as he scrolled frantically, pale-faced, whispering something to Sophie, who snatched her phone and started reading too. What do you mean, board meeting? Bennett's voice boomed as he too looked at his phone, his face turning red with anger. Who sent this? What evidence? He barked into a call, but the panic in his voice was unmistakable. Clara watched coldly as the scene unfolded, her phone buzzing with updates. Then, as if on cue, 2 police cars pulled up outside the beach house. Red and blue lights flashing. Through the security feed, they all turned to the window in shock as officers stepped out. "What the hell is going on?" Sophie stammered, her voice high and panicked. "It's her." Clara knew, Ethan muttered, realization finally dawning as he ran a hand through his hair. His world collapsing in real time. The officers entered the house within moments, presenting warrants for corporate espionage, financial fraud, and theft. Ethan and Bennett were both handcuffed on the spot, their protests and excuses falling on deaf ears. Clara leaned forward slightly, watching the man who had tried to destroy her now helpless and exposed. "You played the wrong game, Ethan," she whispered to herself. Just as the police led them out, Sophie's phone began lighting up with alerts. Messages from board members who had also received her private chats, the ones where she bragged about helping Ethan steal company secrets. Her tears were the final scene Clara saw before calmly turning off the feed. Checkmate. The fallout was swift and brutal, just as Clara had planned. By noon, Ethan and Mr. Bennett were officially fired, with the board releasing a public statement denouncing their actions and launching a full investigation into the company's leadership. Sophie, whose involvement had been fully exposed through her own messages, was not only fired but publicly disgraced. Her dreams of climbing the corporate ladder now reduced to ashes. Clara's inbox was flooded with messages of support from investors, clients, and even rival companies, many of whom admired her strength and integrity, praising her for standing up against corruption and betrayal. News of the scandal spread fast, and while Ethan's name was being dragged through headlines, Clara's company was suddenly in the spotlight for all the right reasons. Investors, inspired by her resilience, poured money into her business, eager to be part of a company that upheld strong ethics, the very thing Bennett and Ethan had tried to destroy. As for the stolen money, Monica worked tirelessly with authorities to ensure every cent siphoned into offshore accounts was traced, frozen, and returned, including Lily's college fund, restored with interest. The beach house, which Ethan had tried to steal so casually, was now officially and legally transferred into Clara's name, its deed reflecting what it should have always shown, her sole ownership. Ethan, now banned from working in finance due to criminal charges, attempted to send Clara lengthy apology emails, filled with excuses and regret, but she never once replied. There was nothing left to say. On a quiet Saturday afternoon, weeks after the dust had settled, Clara sat on the deck of the beach house, watching Lily giggle as she played with her toys in the sun. For the first time in a long time, peace and pride filled Clara's chest. She had protected everything that mattered, her daughter, her company, and her future. Inside her home office, on the beach house wall, hung a single framed piece of paper, the very email Ethan had sent to destroy her, moving on. Now, it served as a daily reminder of a lesson he had learned too late. Never underestimate a woman who's built something worth protecting. The story of Clara teaches a powerful lesson: never underestimate a strong, intelligent woman who has built her success through hard work and determination. Clara's ability to stay calm, gather evidence, and fight back against betrayal shows that resilience and strategy can overcome even the deepest betrayals. She proves that protecting what you've built, whether family, business, or reputation, requires courage and foresight. Most importantly, the story reminds us that those who deceive and manipulate others for selfish gain will ultimately face the consequences, while integrity and strength lead to lasting victory.